Welcome to this month's edition of Okaloosa Eye on Crime. We're looking for tips to help make our community safer, and we're doing that by tracking down individuals wanted by local law enforcement on crimes ranging from sexual assault to child neglect.
That's right, and this edition also highlights the retirement of a volunteer who has spent his entire life putting service above self. And we're also going to talk about the launch of a new missing boater notification program and a whole lot more.
But first up is our first case. It's from the Fort Walton Beach Police Department. They are still seeking information in a 2015 murder investigation. Back on Thursday, October 1st of that year at about 2 p.m., the police department responded to a shots fired call in the area of 3rd Street Southeast and Carson Drive. Now, when officers arrived, they found the victim, 29-year-old Jeppy Cortez Samuel, had been shot multiple times, and he later died at the hospital. Now, the shooter fled in a dark-colored Hyundai four-door vehicle with dark tinted windows. Anybody with information about this case can contact, of course, Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers anonymously, or you can also contact the Fort Walton Beach Police Department. Remember, there are rewards of up to $3,000.
And next up, Okaloosa County deputies were called to several vehicle burglaries on Saturday, September 17th in the Emerald Heights neighborhood in Destin. They're trying to identify the individual in these photos seen burglarizing a vehicle and pulling on door handles in the area. Suspect appears to be a white male about 5'8" to 5'11". He was wearing long camouflage pattern shorts and tan work boots and has tattoos on his right arm. So contact us if you have any clues on who that might be.
And Niceville police are still searching for a person reported missing 7 years ago, and that is 19-year-old Jacob Irvin Lyon. He disappeared, and of course the Niceville Police Department is still looking for leads that might help them locate him. He was last seen in Niceville in November of 2015. He's 5'8" tall, around 135 pounds, short brown hair, brown eyes. He also has a scar on the left side of his chin. If you have any information about this case, you can contact the Niceville Police Department or 863-TIPS or at emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com.
And we've got another missing person. Deputies with the Sheriff's Office are searching for 51-year-old Kathleen Iagio after friends reported her missing in late June. Her last known contact was with a friend on May 16th, but no one has heard from her since. So please contact the OCSO 850-651-7400. And of course, the Crime Stoppers contacts are 863-TIPS, emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com, or the P3-TIPS mobile application.
And next up, we want to highlight a success story. We had Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers tips that led to a large fentanyl seizure in Fort Walton Beach. On the morning of September 8th, detectives with the Street Crimes Unit of the Fort Walton Beach Police Department executed a search warrant at 202 DeLuna Road with the assistance of the Okaloosa County Multi-Jurisdictional Special Response Team. Now, the investigation began when the Street Crimes Unit received tips from Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. During the search warrant, detectives located methamphetamine, marijuana, and large quantities of fentanyl. In addition to the drugs, there was a bolt-action rifle, AK pistol, and a stolen Glock handgun found at the residence. Now, Christopher Davis was charged with the following felonies: trafficking in fentanyl, grand theft of a firearm, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, 2 felony counts of possession of controlled substance, as well as misdemeanor possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. And of course, the Fort Walton Beach Police Department said that this was a successful case because of tips that came to Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. So thank you to the tipsters who will be getting paid that sent that information to help get this dangerous drug off our streets.
And never have to give your name. You can remain anonymous through the whole thing and help really, we're talking about making the community safer. There's a perfect example right there. Next up, we're going to go through some of our fugitives that we're looking for. And first on that list is Michael David Tennis. He's wanted for multiple felony violation of probation warrants, and he was last known to live on North Beale Extension in the Fort Walton Beach area. And
some good news, we can remove Nolan St. Laurentis Harris because he has been located since our last show.
Somewhere out there, there's Ann Margaret Mary Marsh, who's wanted for failure to appear for theft and elderly abuse. She was last known to live on Madeline's Path in Fort Walton Beach.
A new addition this month is Jerron Michael McCoy. He's 21 years old. He's wanted for violation of probation for burglary as well as grand theft.
Up next, this is William Burrell. He's 60 years old and he's wanted for felony failure to appear for possession of a weapon by a convicted felon and possession of narcotics, last known to live on Hurlburt Road.
69-year-old Donald Joe Mitchell is wanted for DUI, as well as driving while license suspended or revoked, last known to live out in Navarre.
We also want you to contact us if you know where Tad Keith Bowers is located. He's wanted for VOP on an original charge of child neglect.
Okaloosa deputies are still looking for 50-year-old Clifton Ray Edwards for violation of probation for carrying a concealed weapon.
Now here's one you don't see that often. Zachary Lee Dalton, he's wanted for arson.
Another new face is Sean Michael Sanders. He's 37. He's wanted for failure to appear for resisting arrest without violence, possession of a controlled substance, possession of narcotics equipment, and finally, fraud, last known to live in Fort Walton Beach.
Angela Dawn Tripp's last known address was on Crown Creek Circle in Crestview, and Tripp is wanted for failure to appear for exploitation of the elderly.
43-year-old Scott Daniel Sconyers, last known to live in Destin, is being sought for violation of probation for DUI and fleeing and eluding.
Anthony Frideli's been on our list for a while. He's wanted for VOP for grand theft, trafficking in stolen property, and providing false info to a pawnbroker. Frideli's last known address was in Fort Walton Beach.
And unfortunately, we don't have a photo of Brandon Dalton West, but he's 31-year-old white male, and he's wanted for sexual assault.
Moving next to Alyssa Victoria Hibberts. Hibberts is wanted for VOP for child neglect and possession of cocaine.
37-year-old Janelle Eileen Navarro is wanted for felony violation of probation for 4 counts of sell, manufacture, deliver narcotics.
Unfortunately, no photo available of Charles Louis Craig, but he is wanted for sexual assault.
Well, a new missing boater public alert notification system to aid in the search for missing endangered boaters and kayakers has now been launched as a result of a collaborative effort between the City of Destin, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, and the Okaloosa Board of County Commissioners.
And that's really where the story starts. Because he loved sunsets and because he would take extremely long paddling adventures, I didn't know he was in trouble until it got dark and he hadn't come back off the water. So then I called 911. They did a 3-day search trying to find David. All these wonderful people did an amazing job looking for him, but they never did find David. They did find the boat. They found a broken paddle. And despite David being an excellent swimmer, we didn't get him back home. While they were doing the search, we were sitting there looking at all the boats in the harbor, and there's over 150 different large fishing vessels sitting there, and we have no way to ask them to help us look for my husband. And my son came down from Minnesota and he said, "You need an Amber Alert for the boat."
The idea of Aqua Alert will help save lives, lower the cost of search, as well as shorten the time. And on those times where the person has already passed, recovery of that individual, which will allow them not to suffer what we've gone through.
Thankfully, last year we purchased, and it was just ironic, or maybe it was divine intervention, that we had purchased a platform called the Sheriff's App. How this would do, it would come in, the call would come in from whoever it is, a loved one or someone that is aware of a missing boater or a missing vessel, and then we would dispatch our Marine unit to that. But as it stands, we use the Sheriff's App. So I would encourage you to download that Sheriff's App. If you would, all you have to go is to your notifications, then turn on the Aqua Alert, and that will have you up and running.
On the local level, I just ask people to download the app and be prepared to help however it's needed. And on the national level, which is what I've been working on behind the scenes back in Minnesota, contact your senators. We've already passed the House. So if you contact your senators, let's get it through and make this a national thing, and that would be for the Coast Guard.
As the Shinks have worked to make this national on freshwater lakes as well as in the open ocean in the EEZ of the United States, is going to help save lives by creating a wider base in the boating community that something is amiss and you need to keep your head on a swivel and be aware of your situation.
The Shink family, facing tragedy, has really championed an opportunity for us here locally in our community to increase safety.
Currently, any opportunity to improve, increase chances of saving a life on the water through increased communication capability is something worth investigating further.
The notifications are going to help us tremendously in getting information out to the public so that they can feed information back to us The more eyes we have on a situation, the more intel that we can gather, the better off we are in locating someone quickly.
Again, we want to emphasize that the Aqua Alert information is going to be distributed to the public through the free Sheriff's Office mobile app, as well as social media, of course, and that information is going to be available to anybody who wants to then voluntarily just help keep an eye out for the missing boater.
Well, 2 waves of OCSO deputies and dispatchers wrapped up their week of work assisting the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office after Hurricane Ian tore through Southwest Florida in September.
You know, they were doing a little bit of everything from putting tarps on roofs and removing down trees to helping in the 911 communications center. And they also saved some dogs from a house fire, which we wanted to mention, but they focused on doing all that they could while they were down there to basically help out our disaster-stricken fellow Floridians.
We sent down 2 waves of people, a group of 13 officers, a second group of 13 officers, and with each deployment there were 2 communications officers. And on the first deployment there's also 2 drone operators that we sent down south. The missions they fulfilled, the drone operators went and did surveillance and mapping for the state, so that way they can take care of what needed to be fixed and how they're going to proceed forward. The communications officers went and supported the other communication centers in Charlotte County to help for their manpower because they didn't send people home. Our patrolmen, they helped with traffic control, they helped with checking out businesses, helping the citizens. They did some blue roof work, they cut down some trees, just whatever that agency needed, we went to go help. That's why we went fully self-contained.
Hey. How's it going? Good. Nice cool weather now.
We brought it wet.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for that.
They didn't leave me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for volunteering, stepping up. There's never been a shortage of people that were volunteering for this worthy endeavor to go down there and try to help people that were in dire straits. I know your second wave that went down there. I know it's hot, and I know what that aftermath is like. Many of us have worked those type of storm responses, and just want to say thanks again, welcome home, and so glad that you're here.
Cool.
The officers saw that they went down to help, and the people needed it, and the people were very grateful. The Charlotte County Sheriff's Office was incredibly happy to have us there. Anything they needed, we said we will do, and that was the key. Go help. That is the mission. Go serve, and that's what we went to do.
Now we're going to go to our next list of wanted fugitives, and we want to remind you they are wanted as of today's taping date, which is October 27th, 2022. And first up on this list is 80-year-old J. William Shutter. He's wanted for felony child neglect.
53-year-old Kelly Lynn Abbott is wanted for felony grand theft and contracting without a license.
Contact Crime Stoppers if you know where 28-year-old Cheyenne Lee Gentry might be. She's wanted for violation of probation for possession of methamphetamine, last known to live on Oak Terrace Drive up in Crestview.
Here's one we'd love to have information on Kyshawn Campbell. No photo available on him, but he's 34 years old. He's wanted for lewd and lascivious behavior and cruelty toward a child.
James Clinton Brinkley Jr., who's 63, last known to live in Pensacola, he's wanted for violation of probation for battery.
And this is Justin Diaz. He's wanted for felony possession of meth with intent to sell and possession of heroin, last known to live in Destin.
Another one with no photo is Kelvin Paul Michael Weiss. He's 44-year-old white male. He's wanted for sexual battery.
And this is Joseph Lee Fairchild up next. Fairchild is wanted for VOP for aggravated assault.
Next individual is wanted for fraud. That is 46-year-old David Allen Bobbitt.
And you can contact us if you know where to find Thomas Edward Allison. Allison's wanted for failure to appear for aggravated assault on a person 65 or older and was last known to live in Destin.
64-year-old Tobin Dean Collins is wanted for failure to register as a sexual offender, last known to live on Yacht Club Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
And this is what we always like to highlight. William Jeremiah Talbot has been located since our last show.
But we're still looking for 37-year-old Daniel Robert Turner O'Rourke for felony failure to appear for grand theft as well as criminal mischief, last known to live in Crestview.
Kenneth Gerard is 35 years old, wanted for sex offender registration violations.
Jerry Daniel Beaver, 54 years old, wanted for violation of probation for possession of methamphetamine, as well as driving while license suspended or revoked, last known to live over on Boyce Drive in Shalimar.
Coretta LaDon James is wanted for failure to appear for both grand theft and fraud. 37-year-old Michael Edward Leahy, wanted for felony hit and run with injuries, last known to live on Dune Lake Circle in Santa Rosa Beach. The charges for David Richard Abbott are felony failure to appear for resisting arrest and possession of a controlled substance.
Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office investigator Michael Kruger says this next case started with one report by a victim with a small financial loss, but expanded to include more than 100 victims and millions of dollars.
It's a big one. As a result, former Destin resident John Acker was recently sentenced to 11 years in federal prison for an investment fraud and money laundering scheme. But prior to that sentencing, Sheriff Aiden had recognized investigator Kruger for his excellence on solving financial crimes, saying the OCSO's white-collar crime investigators are the unsung heroes of the Criminal Investigations Division.
All the help from the FBI, my partners over there, and then also the forensic accountant that we couldn't have done it without her. She put all this together in pivot charts so we could track the money and see where this money was coming in to him from victims, and then he was turning around and just using it for his own wants.
Luxurious lifestyle?
Yeah, completely. I mean, nobody spends $30,000 at a restaurant over a couple months, but he does, or $17,000 on a trip to Vail.
We have a couple of investigators we're fortunate enough to have that that's their niche, and they're one particular individual, and I'm not real pleased about this because it's an individual I grew up with and since childhood, and he is literally like a catch me as you can. I don't think he's had a real job in about 25 years, and he has over 100 victims where he frauded them out of money with numerous different schemes that he was running. The total goes into the millions, and he was indicted. However, Mike Kruger, if you'll come forward.
Oh.
So, I wanted to give an award for this particular case, or cases, should I say, because it really has spanned over a course of almost 2 years. Lengthy man hours. Let me just explain to you how much is involved in these type of crimes. We had an undersheriff recently retire. He was FBI for 24 years, I believe. He credited one particular criminal, very similar to this one, with taking up over a third of his career trying to apprehend him. So these people are very good at what they do. Unfortunately, to me, he was public enemy number one because we had so many people in our community that were duped by this individual. And I really kept staying on the U.S. attorney. He's like, is there any case you want us to take? I want this guy. I want him arrested. And we had, one of our very best on here. And, it's funny when someone gets a case and it's like this and we send it over to CID, they'll say, oh yeah, Investigator Kruger or Investigator Walters, has it. And I'm like, well, you got the best. They're going to be able to get to the bottom of it. But without further ado, I wanted to do this at Halloween time because of the timeliness of it, but we ended up doing this event. A nightmare on the Emerald Coast Parkway. Over 100 victims, 37 counts of wire fraud, 7 counts of money laundering, and he affectionately named Investigator Kruger Freddy Four Fingers. And so, Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy Krueger, Michael Freddy Four Fingers Kruger. So give him a big round.
Well, in honor of what may be one of Florida's most powerful examples of lifelong volunteerism, October 13th was proclaimed Captain Terry Watkins Day in Okaloosa County. It's a tribute to the leader of the OCSO posse who officially retired after providing literally tens of thousands of hours of free service to Okaloosa residents over a 45-year span.
And whereas he has served with and led the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Posse from 1977 to present. This is a group of civic-minded citizens who donate their time to assist the Sheriff's Office in a multitude of functions. Whereas he is the epitome of professionalism and a shining example of what it means to serve, and whereas Captain Watkins demonstrated leadership and lifelong commitment to protecting and serving Okaloosa County by spending a lifetime protecting and serving through volunteerism. And whereas Captain Watkins displayed many talents as a public servant, husband, father, grandfather, man of faith, fisherman, and most of all a servant to all he encountered. And now therefore be it resolved by the Okaloosa County Board of County Commissioners that they do hereby proclaim and recognize the 13th day of October 2022 be recognized as Captain Terry Watkins Day in Okaloosa County, Florida, in honor and recognition of his extraordinary life and well of his service to the Okaloosa County and the state of Florida citizens. Duly passed and adopted this 20th day of September.
I did all that. But I've enjoyed it, and I want to end with something. I said I wasn't going to do that. But it's called a policeman's prayer. And if you look on Google, you can see hundreds of them. Everybody made their own up. But I got one that I keep in my patrol car, which I thought he might give me, but he didn't. Anyway, it goes like this. Lord, give me courage. Courage to face and conquer my fears. And courage to go where others will not go. And please, Lord, do it all. Be by my side.
Now, next up, Under Sheriff Charlie Nix recently graduated from the FBI's prestigious National Academy program, placing him with the highest 1% of senior law enforcement in the world, actually, that is, dedicated to impacting communities through their leadership training and the big networking experience.
Charles Nix II, Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, Shalimar, Florida.
I've always wanted to go. It's something that most people, if they have the opportunity, dream of doing. And fortunately for me, that opportunity came available, and the sheriff allowed me to go, and I took advantage of it. So leadership philosophies have changed. I've been in law enforcement now for 30 years. Those philosophies have changed over the years to meet generation requirements and communication. I brought back some better ideas on how to deal with, emotional intelligence right now is huge. Well, when you first talk about it, when it was first brought up in the leadership class years ago, it just didn't sink in. Well, the National Academy hits really hard on that. It's probably one of the best courses that I took to better understand not only myself, but to better understand what makes the people that I work with click. What is rewarding to them for a place of employment? How to make that better, a better environment for them to work in. So emotional intelligence was huge. Probably one of the best classes that I took. Some of these classes that we took, psychology of leadership, emotional intelligence, put a better perspective on how to how to communicate better with the people that you work with. It's a 10-week course. The last thing that you finish up with, the whole idea is you can't go to the National Academy without running the Yellow Brick Road. It's a 10K, which is pretty demanding for the 3.6 miles through the woods, and then the rest of it being a run. But very rewarding to me, being the second or third oldest member of the National Academy. I got my yellow brick.
Well, word of Fort Walton Beach Chick-fil-A employees Michael Gordon's heroic actions to stop a man trying to carjack a woman holding a baby spread nationwide.
They certainly did. But the day after the incident in September, Sheriff Eric Aid and members of the OCO went to meet him at his workplace because they wanted to deliver a special coin, give a personal thanks for that quick response that he had, and also give him a community service award for his actions.
What we say a lot of times is service is in our DNA. You know, that's our mantra, that's our motto. You know, you clearly have service in your DNA from the job that you do here, but you know, you served and protect yesterday, and that's what we do on a daily basis. Obviously, I'm so glad you work here for Matt, for Chick-fil-A, and with the wonderful organization that you have here. Yes. But you know, if you ever are interested, we certainly have an opening for you, and we'd be honored to sponsor you as a cadet. You know what,
I appreciate that very, very, very much. So.
I want to give you our challenge coin.
All right.
And as well, here's my card with my personal, my work cell phone number.
I see you.
I want to give you one too. Thank you so much for always supporting our community. I want to present you with this. It's a certificate of community service award.
So every award comes with a story. So we've got a brief story, brief synopsis here. So this is the recognition of community service, the Community Service Award for Thomas Michael Gordon. Yesterday, shortly before 1 o'clock, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office received an emergency call of a disturbance here at Chick-fil-A. The caller stated a male suspect tried to steal a woman's vehicle. Momentarily, the Sheriff's Office received a second emergency call regarding the same suspect accosting a female victim holding her small child. The caller thought that the suspect was trying to take the child and the vehicle. Deputies responded and discovered that the suspect had been safely, effectively, and physically detained by an heroic Chick-fil-A employee, Thomas Michael Gordon. The investigation revealed Michael had intervened during the first encounter and had chased the suspect away from the first victim's vehicle. An unidentified male customer also assisted in pursuing the suspect from the drive-thru on the north side of this restaurant. We don't know that customer's name at this time, but maybe some of the social media presence will help us identify him. Investigation further revealed that Michael heard the second commotion on the opposite side of the restaurant and ran to assist and intervene. The suspect was seen physically restraining a female victim who was holding a small child. The suspect robbed the victim of her car keys and entered her vehicle with the intent of stealing it in his escape. Ultimately, Michael extracted Branch from the driver's seat before he could flee, potentially keeping him from striking numerous customers in the parking lot. Michael physically restrained the perpetrator on the ground after a brief struggle. Michael was able to keep him from fleeing the parking lot until deputies arrived. Deputies learned that the suspect had armed himself during both robberies with a sharpened plank, and he used the plank to threaten both victims. Witnesses provided video recordings of the incident and immediately provided them to law enforcement to help with the investigation. The investigation revealed that this same suspect had burglarized a local home earlier on the same day in the city of Fort Walton Beach, attempting to steal a purse before being confronted by the homeowner. As a result of Michael's actions and the community working together, the suspect was positively identified by the resident during the joint investigation between the Sheriff's Office and Fort Walton Beach Police. Due to Michael's courageous actions and unhesitating response, no innocent patrons were injured during this incident. For his heroic actions, Thomas Michael Gordon is being presented with the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office Community Service Award. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you so very much. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Well done, sir. Well done. Amazing.
I was
very much, guys.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. If y'all ever hear a call for help, no, I'll be there first.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Love to the family. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much, guys. I will take this. I got to put this in a very safe place.
You're
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you
Switch
very
out
much.
for this iPad. Swap it out.
We're good. Love it. Go ahead and keep that.
Back to work we go.
And when we say that went viral, we mean that went viral, not just within the United States, but around the globe. So kudos to him. And that's going to do it for this edition. We appreciate you watching, and we will see you next time.